All team, give it everything you got.
It's time to fangirl flail with Fangirls Going Rogue.
Count me in.
I don't think there's anything more important in the Star Wars universe than the fans.
News, discussion, and commentary from the female point of view.
You call this a diplomatic solution?
No, I call it aggressive negotiations.
With your hosts, Teresa Delgado, Tricia Barr, and Sarah Woloski.
Boy, am I glad to hear your voice.
Strap in, because this is where the fun begins.
I like the sound of that.
Welcome, ladies and gents, to this episode of Fangirls Going Rogue, episode 38. And with me are my awesome co-hosts. Well, I guess I should say who me is. I'm Teresa Delgado, and with me are my co-hosts, Tricia Barr from Fangirls Blog. I was about to say Fangirls Going Rogue, by the way, which
you are from that.
You are from that, but that's not what I was trying to say.
That's all right. Hi.
You also just heard the voice of Sarah Woloski from Skywalking Through Neverland. What's up, Sarah?
Hi, I am very jealous of the pomegranate margarita that you just had.
that is causing problems for me right now.
We're just going to out her right away.
Yep.
I almost did, and now she did. So.
Thanks, Sarah.
I have no problem saying anything.
It's how you know who your true friends are.
So this is it. That makes Teresa. She'll have more fun than us or less fun.
She's the lush of the group.
But here's the thing: we've been talking about this stuff on the show for the last 2 or 3 episodes. I figured I would just bring it into the show for an episode. See, tying it all together.
Aww.
But we wanted to start off the show with giving a huge thank you to the folks over at Roku Depot. They posted an awesome review of our last episode, episode 38, that had our big interview with Andrew Kishino. And I've heard a lot of good things from people that really enjoyed that interview. So thank you, Roku Depot, for the review. But we are going to start with the news. So first off, Rogue One trailer. Okay, have you guys at least watched the Rogue One trailer?
Yes,
Rogue
definitely.
One trailer? What's that?
I would hope so. I think we'd have to turn in our fangirl cards if we hadn't.
I would have to turn in my speculation card.
Oh,
Yeah, you would.
Yes.
If I didn't watch it. Okay. So have any of you done a reaction video? Because I'm just curious. Like, have any of you ever done a reaction video?
I do podcasts. That's what I do. So I leave the videos to other people.
No. Well, I haven't done a reaction video, but the Force Awakens NFL trailer, you guys remember that one?
Yeah.
It wasn't really a video, but it was a podcast recorded live reaction because we were recording Rebel Yell or Geek Out Loud or something live that night to catch our reactions when it aired. And there was it was me and Steve and Erish. And I forget, maybe Riley Blanton and
Bethany. She was jumping over to the one we did with right. Full of Sith, right?
Full of Sith, yes. And so there was a lot of like, like a lot of noises in that one.
Yeah. See, like I don't watch the trailers and move, so I don't think I would be very interesting when I. I see a lot of people do a lot of moving, and I'm just kind of like staring, and then I usually have to watch it again. And by like maybe the 4th time, I'll like maybe get a hand flail going because I actually something goes through my head. So my hand flail moment was when I realized that there was a Jedi in the sand. For Jedi, like that, I didn't see that image, like the U-wings flying over, and that to me was like, oh, dude, that's really cool.
Yeah, I have a question about that because I got tweeted that picture by so many different avenues, and I'm like, what are we looking at here? So you say it's a statue? I mean, it looks like a statue, right?
Yeah, they talked about it on the Star Wars show too. It's like it looks like a statue of a Jedi that might have been up. We know that Jedi is somehow important to the the origination of the Jedi, and it looks like Obi-Wan Kenobi, if you were gonna, but it's not Obi-Wan Kenobi, but it looks like Obi-Wan Kenobi holding a lightsaber who has fallen over in the sand, and now the sand is covering him up. So, and what I didn't even notice either was there's the U-wing, that iconic ship now is flying over it. So that statue is enormous. I mean, this ship is not. It's not like a Star Destroyer, but it holds people. It's a sizable ship, and it's pretty much lost in that statue. It's not nearly as big as it. So there was this large statue of Jedi, and the lightsaber is actually broken, which I love the symbolism of that it's kind of broken off.
Oh my goodness. I just saw it. And it does. It looks like friggin' Obi-Wan.
So if you guys watch Game of Thrones, do you watch Game of Thrones?
I don't have
I don't. But you can tell us.
Okay, well, for anyone who watches Game of Thrones, it reminds me then, the size of it reminds me of the city of Brados and that giant statue that is in front of the city of Brados in Easteros.
Could we relate it to Lord of the Rings and like the giant statues of the elves before that waterfall that are like on either side?
Yep.
Because I get that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. And in our own lives, we think about like the Sphinx, right? And sitting out there, which is now falling apart. But that's what it kind of reminds me of in real life. But I just loved that, beautiful visual of it. So, I mean, they had Doug Chang on the Star Wars show, and he was talking about, he worked on the prequel trilogies, did a lot of the world building and the artistry for Naboo specifically. So again, we see this like really kind of great, just in the color, everything looks different. Like everything looks very familiar, but very different. And that kind of Jedi in the sand was my favorite. How about for you guys?
Oh, well, I think the shot that I remember most is Darth Vader coming out of the mist, just coming I believe it's for Director Krennic on a mission, man. Director Krennic is not going to have a good day.
We dubbed this on Hyperspace Series the Fog Walk. That's what it's been called. So yeah, okay. I like that too. I feel very scared for Krennic. Like I just don't know. I feel very scared for him.
Yes. What about you, Teresa?
I think for me, it's actually the scene with Saw when we see him the first time and it looks like he has like a robot leg. I was like, Maul.
Oh.
He's got a Darth Maul leg.
Yeah, and he well, does he have one or two?
One.
Just the one robotic leg. Yeah, he's maybe went to Mother Talzin for some special footwear there. So he has the kind of suit there that's maybe an iron lung or whatever that's keeping him alive too. So he's I almost think of like Don Quixote, like he's like been chasing this dream and he might not ever get there. So
he says, save the rebellion and then something else. Hang on, I'm listening.
Save the rebellion! Save the dream!
Delivered with Forrest Whitaker oomph.
Yeah. He's got that raspiness, he's like, save the rebellion!
Save the cheerleader. Save the world.
Save the dream.
I'm sorry, it made quite an impression.
The one show that you should only watch one season if you ever go check it out. Heroes, only watch one season and then be done with it. Go, that was an awesome show. I'm done. Mm-hmm. There you go.
Save the cheerleader. Man. So what is going on with the IMAX contest? I mean, I've heard about it, but I don't know the details. Who knows the details?
I know that if you're in one of 100 locations, you can go take your picture in front of the IMAX stanchions, I guess they're called, and enter yourself if you tweet it or whatever with a certain hashtag, and win a chance to go to the premiere at the IMAX theater where they put the film together for IMAX. So cool. I was so sure they're like, and announced tickets are on sale. Mm-hmm. I was ready. I was ready to buy my ticket.
You were ready to. We were ready to break the internet. Yeah, again.
I was all ready to break the internet. And I'm like, they're going to put IMAX tickets on sale, and then it's like, oh, it's a contest. So I'm like, bum. So I know. I was ready to. I'm ready to buy my tickets.
I know this time last year we all had them, right?
We did. I think we did, yeah.
That's why I'm like kind of like, ugh. So that was the one thing that this trailer was like, wait a minute, we didn't tell us to go buy tickets. What's going on? So
I'm sorry.
We haven't been able to talk about Star Wars, and there's been so much. So are you guys going to read Catalyst, the novel?
See, I don't know if I'm going to read it before or after the movie. I can't decide. So this is, we got kind of a little blurb about Catalyst over on USA Today, and I'm just going to read like a little short snippet for people that want to know what it's about. Out November 15th, author James Luceno's Catalyst acts as a lead-up to the Rogue One film by focusing on two characters who play important roles in the construction of the Death Star, talented scientist Galen Erso and ambitious Imperial officer Orson Krennic, also receiving an introduction, Felicity Jones's new Star Wars heroine, Jyn Erso. So, I don't know, but Pablo Hidalgo was quoted. He said, "Everyone knows about the Death Star as this way larger than life concept. It's hard to wrap your head around this weapon that's so powerful, but this is the idea of understanding who were some of its architects and what they were thinking or not thinking, if you think
right.
really." Like, how do you construct something this big in space? This is what I want to know. I want to know how it's done. There's no space cranes. There's no, like, how. I don't get it. How do you breathe?
The galaxy is a large place, and you have maybe the equivalent of cranes here on Earth are like giant ships that are made for, you know, like in Guardians of the Galaxy, how they had those ships that you could kind of knock into each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like that Teresa's asking like a science, technology, engineering, and math question about like a star. But if you were to think about how they're putting together the space station, they have to put it in sizes that can be thrust off the ground. But I would guess by the time we're building Death Stars that they're a little bit better at being able to assemble things in space. But you actually, in a engineering build that big, you have to do engineering designs just to move things around.
Wow.
So like, say we're going to move a generator to a power plant. When I worked at Florida Power and Light, you would have to do a design to design the truck and to make sure it didn't break the road that it went on. So you have to be able, it's an interesting engineering feat to build something that big, not to mention the resources. So it is fascinating. Maybe someday they'll have like the engineer's guide to the Death Star erection.
How about we not do that? Because then we get...
I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
I haven't been drinking either.
What is wrong with the two of you?
I don't know.
Tequila by osmosis.
Yes.
Hey, there was no tequila, there was rum. I was Jack Sparrowing it tonight, yo.
Let's bring it back to the story that Catalyst is about, which I find it interesting.
What story? It was about erecting a Death Star.
Well, it's also about erecting a mastermind, which is Krennic. So Krennic, okay, so
his name is Orson Krennic.
Orson Krennic.
He is a mastermind.
Right.
But
okay,
Galen is a genius.
Thank you, yes. These are words from Pablo Hidalgo, yes. And so Krennic, basically, he needs the secrets that are in Galen's mind in order to fulfill this dream project. And we jokingly refer to it as like Mozart and Salieri, or even Jobs and Wozniak. It's these opposites that come together. So I thought that was pretty cool, how, you know, we're going to get these opposites attract. And if you actually read the excerpt there, that was kind of what it showed. So I'm excited to read this book after reading that excerpt. I can't say that word. Excerpt, especially. It is.
Have you read any of Luceno's books, Sarah?
Which one? I'm sure I have. Which ones has he written?
Let's see. Darth Plagueis.
Yeah.
Tarkin.
Yeah. Oh,
yes.
Yes. Yes, I've read both of those, actually. I thought Plagueis was excellent.
Yeah, one of my favorite books, and also he wrote some books in the prequel era, but that were kind of interstitials to the movies. So he has experience doing this kind of stuff. So I'm excited, but this might be something that you don't, they're probably going on the assumption that you're not going to have read the book, but it might add layers after you've seen the movie. You'd be like, oh, this is really cool.
Yeah. And I love that idea.
And the opposites even play out in the visuals in the trailer where you see Krennic in the white, Darth Vader's in the black. Darth Vader has the white stormtroopers and Krennic has the guys in black, which we don't see Imperials walking around in white or stormtroopers in black in A New Hope.
Right. So, have we seen, so Galen Erso, do we know what he's wearing in this movie?
Earth tones. It's in this fall. Winter.
Okay. Because I was just wondering about that because I'm really interested in his character and how it's related to Jyn, obviously by him being her father. That's what I got a lot from the trailer was the fact, like Jyn and her father and his connection to the Death Star. And I just thought it was cool. Like I actually got to see Mads Mikkelsen in person this week.
Don't tell me that.
What? Why not?
Why?
So jealous.
Oh. Well, I was at a press conference for Doctor Strange, and he actually plays Caecilius in that film, which is like the bad guy in Doctor Strange. And having seen Doctor Strange, he's really excellent in that film. And so I'm excited to see him as a different character because he's going to play, what we think is a good guy, right? In Rogue One.
I don't know. Sure. You built a really bad weapon.
I know, but it seems, I guess it's all speculation.
Do you guys watch Timeless with Matt Lanter from the Clone Wars?
No.
Wait, no. This is a show you must watch.
Oh.
Well, I mean, he's very pretty.
Yeah.
But... Who, Matt or Mads?
Matt Lanter.
Matt Lanter, yes. No, Timeless is really, really good. But the last episode was actually going back to World War II, and they were getting the guy who built the rockets, he ended up working for the Americans, but they asked him, like, why do you do these things? And he says, well, I don't think too hard about it, because if I thought too hard about what I'm making, I would get caught up in the kind of the dilemma of, is this going to be used for bad or good? And he said his whole goal in life, that guy, was to get a man on the moon, and he really didn't care what the ramifications were.
Wow.
So when I saw that episode and when the guy was talking, I'm like, oh, okay, so I could totally see this kind of Galen guy, and maybe he doesn't care. Maybe he so some people might think he's forced into doing what he's doing, but maybe he just doesn't care. Maybe he just is all about the science.
Well, maybe it's the whole Jurassic Park mentality. They were so excited about whether they could.
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
Make dinosaurs.
Yes.
Life will find a way.
Mm-hmm. Can learn a lot of lessons from that film.
Life will find a way and find a way.
Yes.
So what did you think of the music of Doctor Strange? Because we have the same composer.
Yes, we do. So Michael Giacchino composed the music for Doctor Strange, and I've seen the film, and it's really fun film, especially visually. Like, go see this in 3D because, oh my gosh. But the music, actually, I came away humming the soundtrack. So I think Giacchino did a really good job. And I have since listened to the soundtrack by itself because it's available. And there's some parts where he actually has vocals singing, but then he plays them backwards to the music. So it's like, because there's like time shifting in Doctor Strange, he's actually time shifted the people singing. And it's so interesting that he does that. It's a fun soundtrack. And he definitely, like, I know when we last talked about Giacchino doing the music for Rogue One, my husband had mentioned how he didn't think that Giacchino kind of went out on a limb enough. But yeah, the soundtrack for Doctor Strange really goes out on a limb and does some different things that he hasn't done before. So I think he's definitely gonna bring his A game to Rogue One, because we know he's a Star Wars fan.
So I have a question, kind of off topic from Star Wars, but because I need to know, in your opinion, do you think I will like Doctor Strange? Because so far I have not been impressed or excited for Doctor Strange. So, I mean, I know I have to see it because it's part of my thing, but will I like it?
Okay, so it's an interesting film. There are a lot of names being thrown around, and if you're not familiar with some of the characters or who these names are, you may get confused, like Richard and I did. So what we've done for episode 142 of Skywalking Through Neverland, we've actually put like a name primer in there to kind of help you guys out before you see the film. So I honestly would recommend you listen to episode 142.
When does that come out?
It'll come out late tonight. Whenever I can get around.
Is it like characters from other Marvel movies or characters that are related to Doctor Strange?
Oh, what, the name primer?
Yeah, the name drops.
So the name primer is for characters in Doctor Strange, especially if you're not familiar with the comics or anything, because there's a couple characters that sound very similar to each other, and as well as his necklace that he wears, the Eye of Agamotto. The Eye of Agamotto. Yeah, no, it's the Eye of Agamotto, but it sounds like Mordo, and it sounds like all these other things. So yeah, we help you out there, and then we also play some clips from the press conference that I went to, including clips from Mads Mikkelsen himself. So it's kind of fun to hear. So episode 142 of Skywalking Through Neverland coming out October 27th.
Cool.
I know he's working hard, so he worked through his birthday to get it done.
Exactly. So Teresa, I guess to your question, if you'll like it or not, have another pomegranate margarita. You'll like it.
Well, I don't have one. To go back to Johnny Carino's. So also what came out recently is the Ahsoka novel hit stores, and it has made the New York Times bestseller list at #1. The audiobook has just been a hit from what I've heard. Everybody has been trying to get it and download it and all this stuff. And it's actually narrated by Ashley Eckstein. Do you all have it, the audiobook?
Oh,
no.
Well, I have Audible, so I'll be downloading it soon.
You know, I think I have not finished it yet. I think I have like 45 minutes left, so I'm close to the end. So no spoilers, people. But I know, Tricia, you were sort of indifferent-ish to it.
Yeah, sometimes I'm torn because I want to just love. I'm asking for books with female leads. They hit #1, which I'm so excited for, which just speaks to how many people wanted to know more about the character and were excited for Star Wars, because I think pretty much the consensus is from people who reviewed it, who liked it even, that this is a book for people who are engaged in the character, that isn't in a place to start with the character. And, you know, I've read a lot of reviews from a lot of different sites, and that pretty much seems to be the consensus. The consensus also too is that it's a little bit slow at the beginning. And I felt like this was really a middle grade book, and that's more because of just the kind of the narrative choice. Ahsoka goes through things and then she thinks about why she does them and kind of rationalizes it, which is a little bit more middle grade in how you'll approach a character. And I also felt like she just wasn't, I call it plot by dumb choices. And we know that Ahsoka is rash, but not stupid. And so there were a lot of things that she did that weren't something that we know someone's been on the run would do. Like the biggest thing for me was the landing on the planet, selling the ship and then staying there, especially when she knows there's Order 66. And she actually explains the rationalization, but she stays there anyway. And I understand it was to set up a relationship with the character that was force user, but there were just some things that were just needed a little bit more tightening. So I thought the most compelling things were the pieces in the italics that weren't really part of the plot. And then it started to pick up at the end, but then it felt like it was a race to the end. And I won't spoil the end for Teresa, but so I was kind of like, I don't know, but that's me.
Well, you know, so far for me, because I'm not actually reading it in print, I don't know what the italics things are. So I'll have to go back and look.
It'll be flashbacks.
Do you mean the gray chapters?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I really enjoyed the audiobook so far. I will say And again, it's one of those things, we ask for this kind of stuff all the time, and they gave it to us, and it's great, and I'm so glad they did. But at the same time, I feel like the editing on the audiobook was not up to the normal Star Wars audiobook snuff. There's not as much music as there usually is. There's not as many like sound effects that I enjoy. And I love Ashley's voice as Ahsoka, but it's so hard because her voice for Ahsoka is basically her voice, that when she's just reading the narrative and then she goes into Ahsoka speaking, it just sounds the same because there's not enough of a difference. And that's not her fault. It's just that we know her voice as the character. So I wonder if having someone else read the narrative and then she would have just like read Ahsoka's lines, if that would have made it more impactful. I'm not really sure, but I do enjoy getting to hear Ashley in my car.
I could definitely see that. So I like that we have like one review of the book and one review of the audiobook. I think that's nice. And Tricia, I really enjoyed the book. I liked how she weaved different pieces together. However, I can see your point, how it's for people who already know the character. Like, if you don't know where she's come from or where she's going to, I don't think this book would make much of an impact on you. But I think, it is hitting the #1 bestseller list because there are so many people invested in Ahsoka. I mean, as many men as women, as far as my Facebook is concerned.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And that's it's awesome that it's getting there, and it's so exciting. So sometimes you're just like, oh, I just want it to be. It was, there was a statement made at the Celebration Europe panel, the Ahsoka one, and it was Pablo. He said, well, it's a young adult book. And it was almost like he doesn't mean to be dismissive, but there's that kind of statement of, well, it's young adult, so it doesn't have to be. And then I think about all the amazing young adult books that I've read. I mean, they're award-winning Naomi Novik and this one, and it was out so early. They had these copies out so early. I felt like they could have taken a little more time. And that happened. Yeah. I mean, they've been out forever, and it's part of the print process, but I felt like it could. And then, she's talked about, E.K. Johnson's talked about, she is a former fanfic writer. And in the front of the book, her dedication is to the Royal Handmaiden Society. That is a fanfic group. And anybody wants to tell me that handmaidens don't matter, she came from fanfic forums, and that's where she learned to write. So yay, woo, awesome. But that, this, she talked about, she had first time she'd ever had to diagram a book out, and that she sat down and wrote it very quickly. And I feel like that like in the process, I would always say, if I'm going to give any critique overall to the publishing team, is they need to give these books more time. They beat up their movies, and they do not give that love to their books. So this book could have gotten some plot points and stuff that could have really been beaten up, and it would have been a really sharp book and maybe a little more confidence in the character. But there it is. So you were talking about young adult, and Lost Stars was definitely a solid young adult book. And you had mentioned that this is more of a mid-grade book, and I would agree with you because the narrative in this really reminded me of the Servants of the Empire series. Yes. And those were phenomenal books. And it's sort of, the narrative in those was almost better than this one. And those are skinny little paperback covered books, and but it's on par with the same thing. I wouldn't call this one a YA book. I know that's what they're calling it, but it doesn't read like a YA book. Yeah, that's if I had gone into reading it saying it's a middle grade book, I would have been a little more forgiving, I think, of how the character plays out. That's where I'm coming from. So if I read a middle grade book, I'm like, okay, I know middle grade kids are reading it, and they sometimes need a little bit more of the we explain away our rationalizations, why we do things, as opposed to how this one. So that's where I come from. But again, I think this is an interesting time because we now have a proof of concept that within Disney, they can put out a number one. It's actually in its second week.
Wow.
I saw them that it'll be 2 weeks on the number one bestseller. So that Star Wars without Disney can put out a number one bestseller and without having to go through a publishing house. So that's, it could be an interesting time. I know some people were really like anxious when I even put that tweet out, but there is some benefit to knowing that Disney is in complete control of the storytelling element in the licensing realm. If a licensee is just creating an object and maybe it doesn't represent the character, then it's just an object. When the licensee is creating a story, there's another piece of the puzzle that they have to oversee. So we'll see how things go. If we don't see Disney publishing do more. And the funny thing is, like, the Margaret Stohl books for Black Widow, love those for the young adult. And I think they're way more sophisticated than the Ahsoka book was.
Huh.
Hello, what have we here?
And so we now officially have Lando Calrissian as Donald Glover. Are you excited?
Yeah, I am excited. I actually knew who this was. So yay. And he is, well, I know him. I guess he's been on some shows since then, but I know him from Community, which is a show that ran from 2009 to 2015. And Donald Glover played Troy Barnes, who was kind of this jock in high school, but Community is about a community college, crew. And he ended up friends in the community college with the geeks and could never really reclaim that jock status from high school. So he was one of the most likable characters on that show. And he kind of played a guy who wasn't too smart either, but he was definitely funny. And I can see how he has the charm of Lando. So I'm excited for this.
Well, and he does play a really, really smart guy in The Martian.
Oh.
So, yeah, smaller role and very, very smart. So if you want to see him play someone who's as smart as I believe Lando is, check out the movie is worth it all on its own. I was not sold on it. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, wow, it's a really good movie. So definitely recommend it. And he also plays someone who's really smooth in Magic Mike XXL. So
that's right. Okay, I did see that.
Yeah.
I guess he wasn't as memorable in that one.
But he was. He's the guy who does the songs for the girls in the... You remember him? He didn't do the dancing.
I don't. You've seen Magic Mike XXL?
Yeah. Female empowerment movie, let me tell you.
I suppose.
Hey, I was not the first person to point this out. So it was, let's see, Bobby Roberts from Full of Sith and Amy Ratcliffe who pointed this out on Twitter. So, and I had been thinking it, but I wasn't on Twitter. I'm like, yeah, what they said. No. No, he has a really, really kind of cool part. He's not a stripper. So
okay.
Nice.
I'll have to watch it again because I don't remember.
Well, I looked him up because I had no idea who he was, and I was like, Donald Glover, is he related to Danny Glover? No, he's not.
Okay.
He's not related to Danny Glover. And his father's name is Donald Glover.
And his mom said, don't mess up Lando, right? She warned him. That's what he said. Yeah, his mom said. So his mom is a fan. So now he's got a lot of pressure.
It's true, but I think he's a fan too because he is actually he was a writer on 30 Rock, which of course is known for lots of Star Wars quotes and references. So I'm sure he might have put some of those in there.
Yeah, and his show Atlanta's out now on FX. So it's definitely, what did he call it? He called it Twin Peaks and growing up in Atlanta. So that's quite a pitch if you can imagine that. Some people might not know what Twin Peaks is, but
I don't. Well, is that the show that he's referring to? The old?
Yes.
Okay.
The old show.
Well, not the old show. What was it? 90s?
Well, yeah. Well, at least we can say Donald Glover because Alden Ehrenreich is a mouthful.
Yes. It's a lot easier to say that. Donald Glover, Donald Glover, Donald Glover.
And I have to say that I'm very excited I was excited for the directors Lord Miller from the Lego Movie and 21 Jump Street, that just their press release was like, we're sorry we ruined his Comic-Con forever. That's like in their StarWars.com press release. So those guys are so funny. I think this movie is going to be hysterical. I'm so excited. They are getting ready to shoot now. They are over there in pre-production, and Alden Ehrenreich just did an interview over there, getting ready to do it. So I mean, we're talking Millennium Falcon and Han Solo and Lando Calrissian and yet to be known female lead.
Yay! Uh-oh. But wait a minute. What's the female lead? Does she have designs on Han Solo? Because I don't know if I'll like her.
Well,
but Han Solo was married before.
Yes, if in the comics.
Well,
yeah, it's in the comic.
Solo. See, I didn't like her either.
Well,
I'm very protective of my Han.
Yeah, I know. They'll have to see how they play this, because there could be some people who are really like, no, not just stay away from my Han Solo like that. So, yep. I mean, a lot of people were like that when the comic came out, were like, no.
Yeah.
So there's been speculation that the actresses that have been talked about are all women of color, so it could be that character, but we don't know. And I don't know. I feel like this is going to be like Silverado, which is Kasdan's. Did you guys see Silverado that Lawrence Kasdan did?
I have not.
It's a Western,
right?
Yeah. No, you have not seen.
I know the music to it, but I have not seen the actual film.
All right. Well, everybody has to watch Silverado. And then we can talk about how I think that the Han Solo movie is going to be his Silverado in the galaxy far, far away.
Okay.
Alrighty then.
That's our homework.
All right. Well, let's jump into talking about Rebels. There's been a lot happening in Rebels, and it has been very character-driven, I would say, this season. Almost every episode.
So since we've had, 3 since we last recorded, Teresa, what's your favorite? What's your favorite of the last 3 episodes, which we had Sabine, Hera, and then Rex kind of centric?
You know, it's hard because I did really like the Hera episode a lot. But the Rex one hit home for me very closely because of his PTSD and things like that. So I don't know exactly.
Wait a minute, you're good at listing. Why can't you pick what's going on?
I would say that it's probably the Hera's Heroes would be the first one, and then the last battle, final battle. Whatever
now,
it was called.
remind me what the Sabine one was about.
Yes, exactly. Wedge.
Oh,
that was the
Extraction.
Antilles Extraction.
Okay, right. Okay, yeah, definitely Hera's Heroes for me.
Teresa, was Thrawn what you thought Thrawn? Because we have to set the frame for people, because you're the one who you were very excited for Thrawn, but you had not read the Thrawn trilogy. So when you think of how people talk about him and what you think he might have been from all the impressions of everyone you know, what did you think of him in that episode?
I have these words for Thrawn. He's chilling. And I don't know if that's how he is in the book, but he gives me chills every time he's on the screen, and it's because he's so calm and collected, and it's frightening as F.
You know what's giving you subconscious chills?
What?
The Halloween music behind Thrawn.
The Halloween music.
It's
he
totally
does have cool music.
He does. It's an organ and like men's chorus, and it's like if you listen to it by itself, it's like Halloween, straight up Halloween music, like that you'd play for a horror film back in the day, like Bela Lugosi, and things like that.
You could just take it right off the StarWars.com the cue, right? And just play it on Halloween and scare the kids in the neighborhood.
Yeah, you totally could. Just play it really super loud along with Michael Jackson's Thriller, and yes, scare the kids.
Did you talk about it on episode of Skywalking Through Neverland? Because you do the music breakdown.
Yes, we do. In fact, on 2 episodes of that, we talked about Thrawn's theme because it progressed from one episode to the next, and I believe it was on episode 139 and 140 of Skywalking Through Neverland. So yeah, it's interesting, the progression and like the chords that they use and everything. I won't go into detail here, but it was very, very, very chilling, like Teresa is saying.
So they're building his character musically.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Love it. I love it.
All of
So
his little one-liners are the best. He's like, let them have their victory, or
I study the art of war, work to perfect it. But you were forged by it.
I don't know. There's something about him. It's like he reminds me of Himmler, like not really Hitler, but Himmler, you know, which is freaking terrifying.
Well, he's giving that. He's like feeding them the rope so they can hang themselves. Essentially, he's like here, like, oh, you get a victory. You can do this. Well, we'll get a little more brazen and we'll bring a few more rebels. You know, we'll try to get a bigger, if we do a little success, we could do a bigger success. And so you can see how I saw, it was actually on the Skywalking Through Neverland Facebook page that there was some discussion about, people were podcasting about the character, and they felt like that the people who were discussing him didn't talk enough about how he had masterminded, that he knew about Hera before she even, right? Remember that discussion? And yeah. I just went in and commented because I think there's almost like a shorthand for people who know him. Like if you've read Thrawn, you know that that's what he does. So right. I don't think that the people missed that that's what he does. He studies the people before Hera came, and Nicole Dubek, who wrote this episode, is a fan of the books and of the character. So there's, and in the animation, obviously just 22 minutes, you don't get a lot. So yes, it's definitely, I think it came out in that episode that he had studied Hera, and that's what he does. He studies people's art, he studies their culture, and he figures out what makes you tick. And he was in a way, and what I liked about that episode was he was making some decisions or understanding who Hera was as a leader, like how far was she willing to go. And he drew her in by saying, I have a family heirloom, I'm in your house, I'm in your place. And she decided that, in her ultimate decision, was that her home was where she decided it was, not who the child in her decided it was. And so that's a really important decision for somebody to like let go of nostalgia, even when we're talking about as a storyteller, to let go of nostalgia and to move on. So I love that there was character progression in that story. But I have to say that the Rex one kind of touched a nostalgia place because of the Clone Wars and the prequel trilogy, and it was very, very, very witty. So
yeah, was there any fan service in that episode, do you think?
A lot.
Yeah.
These last 3 episodes are full of fan service. I mean, obviously, pulling Wedge out. That episode really didn't have anything happen with Sabine as far as other than it was all to pull Wedge out. So I thought they really didn't do anything with Sabine. And so I have my fingers crossed that this Mandalorian arc does something. And we know from the teaser that there's something about her mom that's brought up. So maybe we'll get some character development. But Hera, we saw her, obviously she makes a decision. I'm going to let go of things. And I also thought there was great little things with Kanan, just showing him his friends, letting him fight in Hera's Heroes. It's just things that are happening on screen, and Zeb helping him, but that they trust him to fight for himself as with this new disability, and just different things that happen. And then I thought that Rex and Kanan and Ezra all went someplace in that as far as storytelling for the last episode. So, and that was Brent Friedman. If people are fans of the Clone Wars, he wrote the D Squad arc, which is not one of my favorite arcs. And it had the potential to get real corny like the D Squad arc, but it didn't. And then
is the D Squad arc the one with all the droids?
Droids, yes.
Oh,
yes.
I hated that. I hated it.
Yeah.
That was like the only episodes I absolutely hated.
Yeah. And it was so funny because he talked in the interviews, like everybody was like, I don't know about this when George was pitching it. And then he was brave enough to raise his hand. And yeah, those were not my favorite, but he also wrote the bounty hunter arc of the Clone Wars, which Obi-Wan goes undercover and goes into the box. Yeah. So there's a lot of, obviously, droids in the D-Squad arc. And then, that was what's the little alien? Oh, I can't think of his name. Gascon.
Yeah, Major Gascon.
Yes. Yeah, not my favorite, but he did a really good job. And then we see too, because we know Dave Filoni's not working on as the showrunner, so to speak. So, and Henry Gilroy. They also noticed that Stephen Melching had tweeted that he had made some tweaks, actually naming the little droid that goes out to meet the stormtroopers. That which is one of my favorite parts of that episode. So there's more people working on the story, which is really interesting. Kind of see people, and they're allowing them to talk about it. So they're not, they're being very open. So I love that part when the droid's like, oh no, and then he runs away and the AT-AT steps on him. So.
Greetings. Oh my god.
Total fan service, and it was funny. So there's I think they can find a balance between, and I was not fond of the fact that we got Wedge and we got Hobby, which is the second layer of fan service, and then the poor black guy dies, and I'm like, really? You had to go to that trope? I mean, this is something you could have held Hobby off and let that guy live. I was like, really? That did not just happen. Yes, it did. So I was a little disappointed in that. So especially when you think about adjusting it forward to Rogue One and you're like, oh, wait, we got all this diversity, but are they all going to be the ones that die? So
yes.
Wow.
I mean, even when you look at Chirrut and Baze, and they don't say it overtly, and I don't know that they will, but there's an implication that they could be in a relationship, that they could be because the one follows the other. And then there was this whole last year about everybody getting really upset that the token gay character gets killed off, and you're like, oh God, are they going to put their first couple on screen and then kill one of them? Because after this past year, people getting really upset with that happening show after show, it would be like, so just imagine you're thinking, wow, the diversity is really cool, but they don't have enough of a track record to say, well, we've broken some tropes and now we might be really excited. So yeah, that was the one thing in the Antilles episode. I was like, okay.
Yeah, the Antilles Extraction for me was not that. I don't know. I wanted to like it more than I did, and I loved her with her dark hair though. That was cool.
Oh yeah.
I was like, well, that's a twist. Like, oh my
Teresa,
gosh.
did you read the Son of Dathomir comics?
Yes.
Yeah, did you like them?
Yes.
So yeah, the episodes that are coming up there. What they talked about, super commandos, and there were super commandos in that comic. And just the interesting tidbit for people, that was one of the few comics that was included in Ultimate Star Wars as part of canon. So
yeah, the Son of Dathomir comics are very good.
Yeah, and if you really want to go and dive in, I think that there will be some. Just knowing that they're called Super Commandos, and we know that Maul's coming back in the season, and we know that there was that green mist. I think that people may want to go and pick up that comic if they haven't read it and have a little look-see around, because there's going to be some things coming up that, yeah.
Agreed. All righty. Well, you were just at Geek Girl Con, Tricia. What happened there? Give us the scoop.
Oh, I had the awesome Star Wars panel again, and just everybody was really I mean, come on, as I pitched the panel called Lightsaber in the Snow, I'm like, I'm talking when I went the first year to Geek Girl Con and hosted a panel which Ashley Eckstein came to, and was standing room only in a little room years ago, and now we were just hoping that there would be I don't know, that there would be anything with women in Star Wars. They would acknowledge us as a consumer, that they would tell more books. And now we're sitting there talking about a movie with a female lead, and she gets a lightsaber. And so there was a lot of excitement, definitely a lot of excitement. And I'm actually going to put the panel up on Fangirls Going Rogue. So if you want to listen to all that excitement, I think that'll be a lot of fun. And then the other thing that was really fun is the Heroine's Journey panel happened right after it. And that's been standing room only in the big room at Geek Girl Con. And so it's our third year. And to have people who I admired and respected who hadn't necessarily, these are like feminist writers who hadn't necessarily brought up Star Wars in previous discussions in their books even, like Leia gets like a page mentioned in Great Female Characters. And then, but here, to see Jennifer Stoller up there and she's like, this movie is amazing and that she really loved it. And then we could have a discussion about a woman being the lead and the hero was really a lot of fun. So, and that will be up on Hyperspace Theories. So probably by the time this episode comes out. So we'll have all those out. And it was just so much fun. And you guys would have loved, they had the women of Pixar in the big room. So Pixar
cool.
Yeah. And they sent, I think 6 ladies from Pixar who were all working on it. And they definitely acknowledge that there's not enough women working in the technology side. What they do, which is, and they talked about how their roles are the same thing as you would be in film, but they're just doing it digitally. But they did talk about their voices were very well heard. And they talked about the movies they had been working on, which we all love. And these were like amazing ladies. And they talked a lot about work-life balance, just how, that you have to work really hard, but there are times when, they make sure that they can do things. And the one lady was saying she had a kid, but they really wanted her to step up into a role as more management and to have a bigger role in the story. And Pixar worked with her. And so those were really like kind of to just talk about just as being a person is something women specifically struggle with, trying to be it all and have it all and just to see them. But, all these women like busted their butt, worked really hard. And so you could see they were really passionate. So I was really just jazzed to hear them all. And the room was full. And I'm hoping maybe we'll get like the women of Lucasfilm up there one year.
Yeah. Do you know if that Women of Pixar panel would be available anywhere to listen to?
I'll check. I know they were filming it. So I think Geek Girl Con was trying to put some content up. So I hope so. They were actually filming a documentary during the Heroine's Journey panel.
Wow.
So we signed waivers. So I might even make a little bit of a documentary, which would be cool.
Cool.
Wow.
Well, Sarah, you and I need to go there one year.
Yes. We do.
We could podcast live.
Yay!
We could do a Fangirls Going Rogue panel.
Yeah.
And talk about females in podcasting.
Tell me when it's in September.
It's actually in October. First week in October. It's right up boys up against New York Comic Con, which is an awesome con, but it looks like a lot of people from Star Wars fandom have a lot of fun there. But it's New York Comic Con's like San Diego Comic Con. So it's almost as big. It's kind of crazy. So, but did you guys see?
I love New York.
That Daisy Ridley's been doing the rounds here for her being a producer on The Eagle Huntress.
I've seen that, and I saw that she got a chance to interact with Felicity Jones, and they got to have tea. And that Daisy is very jealous of her because she's now on the ride that Daisy was on last year and getting to do all the press and getting to do all the stuff. And she said that she was almost envious of her because she's getting to do all that stuff. And I read also that they asked her if she had given Felicity any advice, and she almost just like laughed him in the face and was just like, I'm not going to give her advice. She's an experienced actress. Like, are you kidding?
Enjoy the ride. Don't get on Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah. Although Daisy gets to do it again next year.
Yes, she does. Well, and how awesome is it that, I mean, just you look at the trickle down effect of her being able to be the star in a Star Wars movie, and she can decide to produce a movie that really speaks to her, which is about this young woman who rose up in a culture that women were not allowed to participate in this kind of rite of passage, and she ended up doing it. So I'm excited to see this movie that she's talking out, and she's talked about the toys, and it's so funny because she says, like, I don't really collect toys, but apparently John Boyega wrote a letter to somebody about there not being enough Rey toys, which I got, in addition to J.J. Abrams. So J.J. Abrams got a lot of press for picking up the phone, but apparently John Boyega picked up his email and said something, because he's a big collector. And then she also talked about the character of Rey being called a Mary Sue on the MTV podcast, which I thought was pretty awesome. And she's very knowledgeable about the topic. And she essentially said that nobody questioned Luke's creds. So why are you questioning Rey's creds? And that was the long and short of her answer. And I was like, yeah, go for it, girl. That's right.
So what movie is Daisy Ridley producing?
The Eagle Huntress, which is a documentary about a young girl. It's a true story who learned to hunt with eagles.
Oh, wow. And do we know when it's coming out?
It should be out now. It's like in, those small runs. I mean, it's a documentary. But right. I mean, if you can get someone like her she narrates it. And it had been at maybe at Sundance, and she announced a few months ago that she was going to be a producer. So I don't know how those producer things work, but she's probably how it is. Get your name on it.
It was pretty much, we don't have this much money, but we can offer you a producer credit, and you go, okay.
Yes, exactly. So she's putting in her time to the production and getting a name on it. But that's cool because she gets to have a producer, and she can say she's an actress and a producer and all those things. So that, I think especially for women to be able to say that you have produced something, to make those connections, it's really important, because producing is where the money gets put together. And, people say, well, why do we keep seeing stories that are all the same? Because some producer got the money to get it made. So if she wants to have movies, and she even said early on, she's like, I did Rey, and then I get all these scripts, and I'm like, okay, well, nothing touches Rey. So if I want movies like that, I need to get them made.
Okay.
Well, speaking of toys, let's jump into our new segment, Collecting Corner. Sorry, I just really wanted to say Collecting Corner because it's a fun name. Well, you got your jacket finally, Sarah. You can finally wear it.
I did. It was so cute. On our anniversary morning, we give each other gifts, and I had kind of forgotten about it. And Richard brings in the mannequin that I use to sew things on. And it's all wrapped up, like the top of the mannequin is wrapped. And I'm like, what is this? And I unwrap the mannequin, and it's my jacket. And I was surprised because I had forgotten about it.
So in addition to being the tour guide to fandom, he is also really Sweetie Punkum's husband, right?
Yes, he is. Oh. And we went to a pumpkin patch that day, and I wore the jacket, and it looked really awesome with pumpkins and Kylo Ren.
Yeah, you got photobombed by Kylo Ren.
I did.
Totally.
So so now we all have the friendship jacket, because in the movie The Force Awakens, all the Finn and Poe and Rey all wear that jacket. So it's the friendship jacket.
Oh, and now it's our friendship jacket. Oh, warm fuzzies.
Well, I got the convention exclusive BB-8 pop vinyl that has his little lighter out for the thumbs up.
Ooh.
But I got that. Thank you. Well, let's continue on the friendship note. I got that from our good friend Patty Hammond. Her Hot Topic had them, and I saw it in the background of an Instagram picture or a Facebook picture. And so I messaged her, and I was like, can you get me that? I'll pay you back for it. Well, she sent it to me along with like Star Wars gum and a BB-8 button and a bunch of other stuff. And then when I asked her about paying her back, she said, oh no, it's just a present from me to you. And I'm like, oh, friends.
That is so sweet.
So, yeah, because my Hot Topic has never had that one, so I did not.
Well, then the trick is for the Mustard brand is to get a friend who has $189 to get you a jacket.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? I started calling mustard brand because that's what it looks like it says. But mustard brand, Kay actually found these, but they have released, well, before the new stuff, they had released a Kylo Ren sweater and a couple other things, but now there is also a Jyn Erso jacket, which I want so badly.
Yeah,
so
but
badly.
the lining is so nice and the details are so nice, but it is not cheap.
No, it's not cheap at all. It's not. But I still want it. It doesn't mean I'll get it, but I can want all day long.
They actually have really good stuff, and I bought a Rey shirt from them at Celebration Europe. They had their booth was insane. So if they come to, there were just so many people buying stuff. So, and everything's really high quality. It's beautiful. And they did an interview on StarWars.com with Katrina Dennis too. Mm-hmm. So you can kind of read a little bit more about their thought process. But this is one of those things when you talk about when they weren't selling anything but toys that are selling for $8.99, $12.99, $19.99, and then you look at the price points on stuff like this, and you wonder why weren't they doing this sooner? Because that's this type of stuff is high end. They're going to make some good profit on this stuff.
Mm-hmm. For those people who can afford it. See, and that's one of the things we've talked about is making things affordable for people. Also, making high quality stuff, but that people can actually buy. I feel like that's important too, but I still want the jacket.
But we also know that there's some other stuff in the Disney parks, and I think there was some fangirl flailing at the Woloski household about them.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I think it was Disney Parks blog that actually released some new merchandise that's going to be available, including a comlink. Like a working Bluetooth comlink. How awesome is that?
So you can listen
really cool.
You can listen to Luke and Han and Leia die in the garbage compactor. Now, if it played that would be really cool.
That would be funny. But I'm excited about that. And then they have an actual mouse droid that's going to be remote controlled, which looks so cute.
There's new Ewoks to join the plush Ewoks they had last year.
Yes, a new basket of Ewoks. Oh,
I call it the basket of adorable.
Yes. We cannot resist Ewoks.
I call it the basket of eats humans.
By the way, ladies, I'm sorry, but Patty Hammond had messaged me and said that she has a giveaway item for us. So we have to.
Cool.
How should we do this? What is it?
It's a Jabba Funko Pop mug.
Ooh, that's awesome. Okay, I know how. Post on our Facebook page or tweet at us using the hashtag Jabba Rocks a picture of you and one of your. I was gonna go Funko. Yeah, one of you and your Funko items. Could be a shirt, could be a pin, could be a pop vinyl, anything Funko.
Wow.
It'd be like a lot of my house.
I know, right? So, yeah, post on our Facebook page or tweet at us using the hashtag Jabba Rocks to a picture of you and one of your things that is Funko, and then we will compile them all up and we will randomly draw a winner.
Awesome. I love giveaways. That's fun. Thank you, Patty, very much. So to wrap up our discussion about collecting things we want to get, Geek Girl Con got to talk to Elhoffer Designs. So
yay!
Do you guys own any of her pieces or
no? But I want one of the Harry Potter Hufflepuff sweaters so bad.
They're so cool. I don't own any either because they're expensive, but I want them.
Yeah.
The sweaters aren't too bad. The sweaters are not too bad, but she just released the scavenger vest and the arm warmers, which if you listen to the latest episode of Galactic Fashion, which should be up by the time this goes up, we called them warm armors. Don't ask. So I haven't gotten that because I think my arms are too skinny for arm warmers.
What? That's when you should get them.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like they'll fall off.
No,
I have no muscles in my arms.
I get to try it on. So they're. I think you'd like them. I think so. But I did buy the Rey dress. I got to try it on there. So it's the one, the gray one from her, Luke outfit. So yeah, I would say because that's always a thing when you're buying from kind of like her universe. I know where I am on sizes typically, or Ashley will say I'm wearing a whatever in hers, which I like. So I am like right between a small and a medium. So I think if you really like something nice and cozy, if you're comparing it to kind of like her universe sizes, you're going to be, if you're a medium, you'll probably be a medium. And if you're small, you're going to be small there. So, but she's very flexible about kind of fitting stuff to you and helping alter and making sure you get the right thing. So, and just for that, I actually asked her a little bit about making her stuff and what it's like to start a Star Wars business, which I think a lot of people are really interested in. So let's have a listen.
Yep. Okay, so we're here at Geek Girl Con with Catherine from Elhoffer Designs.
You got it right.
All right.
Hi.
So, first time at Geek Girl Con, what do you think?
This is an amazing convention. I am in shock right now because it's so cool. Everyone has been so wonderfully nice. The convention itself has been amazingly organized and set up too. Like most cons are kind of crazy. This one has been so incredibly clean and up front. Like I'm in shock. I'm so happy.
So I'm just going to say right now she's standing here in the amazing
Galactic Scavenger
dress that I'm absolutely in love with. Looks like a favorite character. So where did the inspiration come to start doing these inspired designs? Where did you start?
I started as a costume designer and I was working with Nerdist Industries a lot, doing parodies for them. And then I kind of just started stumbling into clothes that were inspired by it because I was like, oh, I'm making this outfit anyways. I can make it as a clothing piece as opposed to a costume. And then Nerdist got me in touch with Ashley of her universe, so I designed for her for a bit. And then Wheel of Fine snatched me up as an in-house designer last year. And then when they let me go, I couldn't stop doing this because my personal thing is curvy women want clothes and adult women want clothes. And women at work want clothes, and that's where I come from. Like, I want stuff for all of them to happen.
Yeah, I could wear this to work, and I think there were people who would know, and most other people would just go, oh, she's wearing a dress to work. So,
yeah. You don't need to have a bunch of colors or a bunch of, screen print on an outfit to tell the story of what character you are. And actually, I like when people don't recognize it, because it means that I'm doing something right, because it's not so in their face. And once I say, it's inspired by Rey, oh my God, that makes so much sense. That's what I like, because I don't want to slap a Rebel logo on it to make it a Rebel. We're all Rebels. We don't need markings to show it. But it's just my own little philosophy. And thankfully, there's a bunch of women that support it and agree, because we want to be more incognito and more secret handshake.
Yeah, that's what I like. So if someone notices, then you're good, and if not,
yeah.
And the challenges of that's one of the complaints a lot of times is that it's for one size. These fashions fit one size, or juniors. You get a lot of juniors, and they don't fit. If you have shoulders or boobs, or any of those things. We call them popcorn catchers on our show. So
that's genius.
Those things, but when they fall out of your mouth, they're popcorn catchers. So how do you tackle that? Because these are great, look great on anybody.
So having worked at these companies, I realized what the problem is. It's that they're using very small women to be fit models, which means that when they grade up, which is when you change the sizes up, you're basing off of a very skinny person who doesn't have much shape. The way that I approached it at Wheel of Fine is my fit model was a size medium woman, which is a little bit bigger than the normal, and she's had children, and she's busty, and she was Latina. So she had curves all over, and so when stuff fit her, and then we went up to larger sizes, it fit the larger sizes beautifully because she already had the boobs. The way that I work now is I have a very curvy size medium as well. And she's actually kind of more of a large, but that's my medium. And then I also make them do an extra large, which is my size. I'm an extra large in the top. I'm 2X in the waist and the hip, but I don't wear stuff that's fitted. And so if it fits me, it's going to go even bigger to 2 and 3X. And then it also just needs to look good. And I'm a designer at heart. And so for me, I can tell from a design if it's going to look good on multiple bodies or not. And so I'm lucky that I have this experience. I've been designing for 15 years. So I've got this down.
For women who would want to get into this, or young girls who would want to try to do this, what are your recommendations? Where do they need to start? What do they need to learn?
They need to learn how to sew. And that sounds like contradictory because a designer doesn't necessarily sew, but I believe like my inspiration is Zach Posen, and he I don't know if seamstress or tailor what the title is, but he knows how to sew, which is why he is such a phenomenal designer. And so if you know how to sew it, you know how to make it, then you can know how to design it and how to deconstruct your designs to make them work on everyone. And so they should learn how to sew. That's where I started, in the Renaissance Fair, learning how to sew.
All right.
So join the Ren Fair.
And then it's not just Star Wars you do. What are the other things that people can find just for...
Yeah. I love Marvel. I'm okay with DC, so I'm doing some like DC-inspired things, only because there's not as many cool women in the universe. I love Ghostbusters. I love Trek. I'm a huge Trekkie. I'm a huge Potterhead. So I'm like, I pretty much all fandoms, but like Doctor Who. I'm okay with Doctor Who, but like I don't really get into it, so...
I'm drooling over your Ghostbusters sweater, so...
I cannot believe there's not more Ghostbusters stuff, considering the movie was all about women, and women are the like main buyers of clothing. Like, there could be so much, and I am so disappointed in companies that have the license, because they could have done more.
Yeah, maybe Wonder Woman will give you some chance.
I'm actually working on a Wonder Woman-inspired piece right now with my production, so, yeah.
So... there's also a challenge. You're small batch. You're doing. You're getting small orders. Can you just talk about how that makes it a little bit different for you and how people will buy from you?
Yeah. So when I did my Galactic Scavenger dress, which is Rey inspired, I got like 30 orders on it in the first week that I posted it. Just a picture of it. So that freaked me out because 30 dresses all at once is terrifying. But I plowed through them and made them in like a week. And then I was like, I need to go to a factory and get this reproduced because that's a lot for me to do, and people want even more of it. And if I can get it mass made, I can get it for even cheaper because my handmade one was like $300. So I took to a factory, I took the dress and the pattern. I was like, can this be done? Is this crazy? And they're like, this is not crazy. It's just different. And so they work with me on doing like 50 unit runs. So it's incredibly small, and I get to control the fabric. I control even the thread that they're using. I control all of it. It's all done in Los Angeles. It's been a battle to figure out because the factories are different. Like, it's just not the mindset that you and I are used to doing. But I've learned how to talk to them and how to get what I want and keep my quality, keep my pockets the way that I do, maintain my length. Like, I've had some trouble with them a few things because like they made it shorter, and I was like, this needs to be longer. I do longer lengths because I want tall women to be able to wear stuff too. And then shorties, we can get it hemmed. Like, we can shorten a hem.
Yeah, I noticed that on your site. You're very good about telling people the other things you can do. You can get dress shortened.
Yeah, I want to make it clear because it's really hard when you buy online. Like, you don't know what you're buying. You can't really trust it's going to work. I have a very open return policy and exchange policy too. It's just about being just upfront and as honest as possible, because that's the other thing. People think I'm a big company, and I'm like, I am just one person doing all of this. And it means I'm running my social, I'm running the shipping. I already have like 4 orders I have to ship out when I get back from this con. If there's alterations to do, I do those. Like, I'm doing all of it, and I love it. But it means that if people are like, I need this right now, and I'm like, I can't do that right now. I have other things.
And do you also do special customs if somebody has something they want?
I can. I've scaled back on that just recently because all my sweaters have taken over my life. But I want to get back into that early next year, is to take on a few custom orders. The prices are so much higher than my mass-produced stuff because it's me sitting down, sewing that piece for a day. So it's a lot more. But there are customers that are happy to pay it because they know that they're going to get something completely different and unique. So I'm going to bring that. I'm actually trying to find somebody that I could possibly like apprentice with me to hire to show them how I do it, and that way they could take that on. But it's hard for me to let go of that because I'm like, I know my quality and I know that it's going to be the best.
She's a control freak. I know that.
Yeah, it is. It's because it's my name is on it, and your name is everything, and your brand is everything. And so I really don't want my name to ever mean less than I think it's worth.
Yes, and that's very important. We talk about that a lot on the show. And then the sweaters, is that a different challenge for you? Because that seems like something that you have to go to other people to make.
It is. Well, it is, but it's not. Because what I do for some of the sweaters, I'm doing a few that are like Legend of Zelda inspired. And so I actually sew up with knit fabric a similar type mock-up of what I want, and then take it to them, and then they just kind of redo it and change a few things. But I have a good friend that does sweaters with me, and so she actually helps me, like she helps break down what it is that I want and how to get what I want from the sweater factory. And so I'm using my network of friends to be like, can you help me with this?
Very important life lesson.
Yes.
All right. Where can people find you if they are interested? Because this is the important part, where to get found to spread the word. So.
Yes, I am Elhoffer Design, ELHOFFER Design, across all social, Etsy, my website. If you type in Elhoffer, I'm probably going to come up because it's a very specific name. So, and even if you type in like Ray Dress, people have found me through that. Through Geekbound is one of my big hashtags that I've been using because Disneybound is awesome, but there's stuff that isn't Disney necessarily. So if you search the Geekbound hashtag, dollars to donuts, you're going to find me easily.
Awesome. Okay, and we'll also put it on our webpage, so you'll be able to find it in the show notes for this interview. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much. It means so much to me to be interviewed.
Shout it out to the social media from Teresa and Tricia and Sarah. Shout it out, fangirl shout outs.
So on our Facebook page, we asked a question, and we wanted to know if our listeners were going to be pre-screening Rogue One for their children. So we asked people to just leave us a comment, and we have a few that we wanted to share. I'm going to share the one from Tumbling Saber. They said, I certainly will be. My daughter is nearly 6, and she knows Star Wars really well. She's seen pretty much everything except the most violent and gruesome parts of Revenge of the Sith. I get the sense that Rogue One will be a bit too much for her. My son is just 2.5, so yeah, he's going to pass on Rogue One for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, 2.5, probably not the best age, but that's cool that people are screening them. Now, Benjamin Spears, he wrote that I definitely will, meaning he will definitely be pre-screening the film. Even with the Clone Wars animated series, there was some stuff that was too violent or scary for little kids. Both of my kids, 4 and 6, have seen all of the Star Wars series with the exception of Revenge of the Sith. There are, however, a few parts where I know to cover their eyes. I took my 6-year-old son to The Force Awakens and covered his eyes for the Poe Dameron torture scene and when Han gets brutally stabbed by his son. I'll do the same thing with Rogue One. My hope is that the violence won't be too gratuitous and I'll be able to take him to it. I wonder if Disney Lucasfilm purposefully changed the ratings from PG to PG-13 to get parents to have to see it first. They're selling more tickets that way, that's for sure.
Well, I wanted to chime in here before we get to the last one. My nephew is 7 now. He was 6 when The Force Awakens came out, and we take him and he just watched the whole thing, thoroughly enjoyed the whole thing. But he's seen all the gruesome parts of Revenge of the Sith. He watched that when he was probably about 4 or 5. We haven't really kept anything from either of my nephews, and they're perfectly cool with it. They don't have any issues. So I don't know. Maybe it's because they've grown up watching all the cartoons that they watch now where people get their heads chopped off all the time. Weird cartoons.
The question was actually kind of spurred on by @Amy Wishman on Twitter, who brought it up originally and said she would be pre-screening for her children. And her kids watch Star Wars Rebels. She tweets about it a lot and tweets with us. So that kind of got me thinking and just wanted to ask the question. I think mostly it's about knowing your kid. So some kids, they won't even bat an eye. I asked Linda, who is a contributor on Fangirl Blog, and her daughter's in high school now, but I said, like if your kid had been 8 or 9 at this point, what would you have done? And she said, I couldn't have taken her because at that age, she was just afraid of things. And you just have to know when some kids, they go see things and that's not it. And I laugh because I remember my sister when she has 4 kids, the first kid, she would like jump in front of the screen when things came up, and watching Star Wars is like, and now it's like the youngest one is probably, 6, and they show them everything. So I think it just depends. It's kind of like a lot of times first parents, it's like, don't let my kids see anything. And then now it's completely different. So it just depends on your comfort level. But I like the cynical that we're putting a PG-13 on it so people will buy more tickets, because I always think that They don't have a say. I mean, they can try to change things and talk, but there's things get rated by a neutral party.
Right.
And so a lot of times they'll have to change something to get a certain rating. Like George Lucas knew he was going to do PG-13. He knew that he wanted to show Anakin the way he was burnt up in the lava, and he made that choice. It was like that was the thing he wanted in that movie, and so he was getting a PG-13, and he sort of knew that when he went into it. So it's funny, in between the trailers, some of the blood has come off the hostages that are walked around in the town. I don't know if you guys have known that, but people pointed it out. Yeah. I think they're the X-Wing pilots. They're getting marched around. And in the original teaser, they had blood all over their face. And then in a later teaser, they did not have blood on them, or much less blood. So, even that kind of detail can affect the rating. And so when people are worried about it's being Disneyfied or it's not as, changing the tone, yes, they could, because it cannot be an R movie. I don't think that Disney's ready to do that yet. We're not at the Deadpool state yet.
Man, can you imagine a Star Wars Deadpool-like film? That'd be freaking great.
In 10 years, maybe we might be talking about that, but I don't think yet. So,
no. Well, and I like this last one they had here from Garrett Sessions. He said, "Well, my now 13-year-old daughter saw Aragorn behead an Uruk-hai when she was 7, and she's okay. So we're definitely taking her to Rogue One."
Go Aragorn.
Yeah, I haven't even seen that.
Really?
My parents wouldn't let me. No, I'm just kidding. I haven't watched all the Lord of the Rings movies.
Oh man, the two of you. Come on.
They're too long.
I watched the last one on a plane, and I remember looking up with them all going down through the river, and I looked up, I'm like, it's like 30 minutes later and they're still going down the damn river. And I'm like, this guy needs George Lucas. Faster, more intense. Come on, Peter Jackson. It's like, yeah, they are way too long. I remember I had to pee, and I'm just like, throw the ring in. And it's like a half an hour later, I'm like, okay, it's got to end. I have to pee. Come on. So yes, they're long movies. You have to be in it for the long haul, and do not drink a lot during those movies.
Oh, I'm a marathoner when it comes to Lord of the Rings. I like watching them back to back to back.
Wow.
I love them. I love it so much. Anyway, are we ready?
Roll it, Rob Dillinger.
Sidious, Anakin, Luke and Leia, Qui-Gon Jinn, C.O. Bibble, Kylo Ren, Salacious Crumb, Bib Fortuna, Boba Fett, Amidala, Wicket, R2-D2, BB-8, I can barely keep it straight. It's a character discussion. It's the Fangirls on character. It's a character discussion.
All right, so for this particular character discussion, we felt like it would be most appropriate, seeing as how the last episode of Rebels featured this particular character. So we are going to talk all things Captain Rex. Okay, guys, my first question for you. How do you like Captain Rex now versus Captain Rex from the Clone Wars? Sarah, go.
I think now, because he looks like Santa Rex, he just seems more laid back and more interesting. And that episode of Star Wars Rebels where the Jaws episode, where they're finding the worm, the sandworm, that still sticks out in my mind as so cool. And the way Captain Rex was introduced, and how he's become that old man in his RV. Just trying to block out the world because the galaxy is no longer a good place for him. So he's found his little slice of life in his RV. So yeah, I like Santa Rex.
Tricia, what about you?
There's more humanity to him, and I think that's the intention, is that he's growing. He actually has. Well, when he has things that are motivating him from his past, which you always want a character to be doing something because of other things that have happened. And in this case, people who may be new to Star Wars, children may not know what's motivating Rex, but there are a lot of us who do know what's motivating Rex, and that's having lost a lot of his brothers that look exactly like him, that were all grew up with him together and fought with him together, and war seems to bring people together. And here he is now, he gets very upset. He gets cranky with Ezra, and he's been Ezra's cheerleader and he hit the end, he's a cheerleader for him, but he definitely gets on his case a little bit, but I think that's because he cares. And so, he's very testy. And Kanan, there's a really clever thing they do here, and it's really important to understand storytelling, is that there are times when you need to tell people what's happening in a character's head, and in a visual medium like a film or a TV show, you can't necessarily look inside a character's head. So for the kids who are watching who may not be familiar with Rex, or just for people who are watching it, Kanan makes that connection to Ezra. He's like, it's not about you. When he scolds him, and Kanan says, don't take it so hard, because he's not mad at you. He's going through some things and he needs to do it his way. And I think that's, he actually took command, which is not necessarily, I know he's a captain and he leads, but his nature is to take orders from Jedi. But in this point, he was actually being protective of Ezra and trying to teach him some things so he could make it through, so they could all make it through.
Mm-hmm. So for mine, I'm actually going to read something that I wrote in our review of Rebels that Aaron Goins and I do for Jedi News. But we have a section in our reviews where we just analyze character, and I just basically talked about Rex the entire time. But I'm just going to read this because I think it really sums up how I feel as Rex is today. I said that Rex has suffered not just the loss of his brothers, but he has also suffered the loss of pieces of himself. I firmly believe that just because he was bred as a clone does not mean that he lacks a soul or a personality. I think the removal of his chip is the key here that makes him no longer a clone. And that is so important, but I also really highlighted the PTSD aspect, and that this was a very important piece of closure that he really needed for himself. And I agree with you, Tricia, where he was talking about where Kanan said, this isn't about you, and Ezra having to understand. But at the same time, Rex, for me, I loved him in the Clone Wars. I absolutely loved him. And I have some issues with his design in Rebels, because I don't understand why they can't just fill in his armor. He looks weird. Like, can we just please get him something to wear? He looks like a weirdo running around with just pieces.
They're the important pieces. He doesn't want to take the time to put on all the rest of that stuff.
Well, it's kind of like as he gets a little bit more portly, like the pieces all keep popping off. So
could be that too.
That's what happens when you become Santa Rex.
He can't go to eBay and get some new pieces.
I feel like they could do a better job with his design as far as what he's wearing, but whatever.
So who would you think would play a live action Rex? Either Clone Wars Rex or Santa Rex?
Sean Connery. What?
Oh.
I don't know. That's the first old person I can think of.
I didn't really have an answer for this. I was just a question that popped in my head.
I could totally see Sean Connery doing Rex. So when she said it, I was like, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
It's his James Bondiness, it's like Rex sort of has that, I don't know. I mean, not the lady thing, and the whatever, but just the swagger. He's got swag.
Yes, he does.
So I don't know. We should ask Jonah Marie that question.
Ooh. Yes,
she probably has like a Pinterest board. She probably has them cast. She has a fan cast. I'm sure she does. Everybody, we're going to go look and see if Jonah has a Pinterest board for Rex. So,
do y'all have a problem with him being in Rebels, or are you cool with it?
Oh, I love it. I think it gives great, like Star Wars Rebels. Before we had some of these characters from the Clone Wars, you have these new characters that were kind of floating in space, and then all of a sudden you introduce some of these characters from the Clone Wars, and you have all of a sudden these tree trunks that are like tying down the show to the rest of the Star Wars galaxy. So I think it's really cool that they actually have these characters, and I mean, especially Captain Rex, such an interesting character because he was a clone that was supposed to be one of many with the same kind of, not too many different personality traits, and yet here he is not a clone anymore, and his own personality is coming out. I mean, it was in the Clone Wars, but it is now even more so in Star Wars Rebels.
You know why that is, Sarah?
Why?
It's because life will find a way.
There you go. Very good. Wow. I like it. She went right back to Jurassic Park.
Yes, she did.
Wow. You will clone it and it will find a way. But it is true. I mean, that's an influential kind of sci-fi trope, just that just because something is destined or their DNA says they should be something, that it won't that nature finds a way to adapt, which is even kind of one of I think the higher metas of even the saga right now, is that the Force has kind of been cut down here, and that we see Ezra talking about the language of Star Wars. Ezra was born on Empire Day, and so we know that he's got these great crazy Force powers now, that he can apparently manipulate walkers and whatnot and bring cranes down and all sorts of stuff. And then we have this character who there was hundreds of them that were millions. I don't know how many. Ask Karen Travis, she'll tell you, and a bunch of other fanboys will tell you they have a different opinion. But there are a lot of clones that were bred to serve the Jedi, and then, like as you mentioned, the chip in their head, then to kill them. And so that bringing him in with Kanan and knowing Kanan's backstory of just what happened, he lost his master, he lost everything because of the clones, and then seeing them work together and getting kind of past that. Because for a lot of things, and we talk about conflict in the world, a lot of times, especially like when I went to Eastern Europe, people can't see past the things that they're born in a certain country and they should be a certain way. That's what they think. The Jedi should be a certain way, and the rebel should be a certain way, and the clone should be a certain way, but they're getting beyond that. So I love him being in this. Except when maybe he dies, or I don't know. That never happens.
Blasphemy. Don't say that.
Right.
I know. Jonah, I hope you're not listening. So I actually saw somebody tweeted, and they said, oh, I'm excited for the episode. And they said they were really nervous about this episode before it happened. And I think the expression of nervousness was because it was a Rex-centric episode. And they do feel like he is unintended, he could be a consequence in the Rebel storyline, and obviously it's a rebellion, so we're going to lose characters. It would be cool to see a clone get out of this and make it all the way through, which would be really cool. But in the kind of, if you were looking at it as storytelling, there hasn't been enough buildup, and there hasn't been enough stakes yet at this place in the season to really worry about that. And I also think that if something big's going to happen, that Star Wars is kind of hand wave at us. So just as a storytelling, they're doing a lot of building up of all the other characters in this ensemble and still trying to make it from Ezra's perspective. But we got a lot of character building for Rex. Although I would think it would be interesting at this point to see, now that this has happened, if maybe going back to what Teresa said, if we might see him in something a little different eventually, that he takes off the clone armor. But we know that Dave Filoni likes to talk to us about how much it costs to remodel characters. So there is a cost to redoing the design. So if they redo the design, it means they're trying to say something.
Okay.
Well, that brings us to the end of another show.
But before we go, Tricia, you've given us some homework over this past episode.
I did?
Yes. So we all need to go out and watch Timeless with Matt Lanter. We need to watch. Yes.
You know why else? Because Matt Mark Hamill did a fanboy tweet at Abigail Spencer, who's the actress on the show, co-starring with Matt Lanter, and he was like fanboying over her that he didn't get to really talk to her on the plane. And Matt Lanter tweeted back at Mark Hamill and said, "Come on the show, you can play my dad."
Aww.
That's awesome.
I'm like, why is Mark Hamill tweeting at her? And then I was like, and then when Matt Lanter, I'm like, are they totally setting something up? But no, that would be like totally crazy.
Mind blown.
But
yes,
if he plays, but yes, no, I definitely think that if the people who are doing Timeless are the same people who did Supernatural, which is one of the longest running genre shows on TV, that the head of CW said that if it would run forever, he would let it run forever. So definitely check it out. What was your other homework? I don't remember.
Other homework. I've been writing this down as we've been going along. So Donald Glover, he is in The Martian and Magic Mike XXL.
I have given you all permission to see Magic Mike. You can say it was homework for Fangirls Going Rogue.
Yep. There you go. And also Community. So that's my homework. Watch a couple episodes of Community. And then we all need to see Silverado.
Yes, Silverado.
To prepare ourselves for the Han Solo
I can't
movie.
believe that Richard hasn't made you watch Silverado.
I'm sure he's seen it, and I'm not sure if I've seen it. I'm guessing I haven't because, I'd probably remember.
Well, you know, Kevin Costner is in it.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's the younger brother. And I think he got that part because he didn't get an actual role in The Big Chill other than to be the dead guy.
Right.
Which Captain wrote also. But yeah, there's a lot of famous people in Silverado. And it is we talked about it on an episode of Hyperspace Series when we were talking about Kazan. It's a really good movie, except I totally just nitpicked the fact that the horse's tail keeps changing color. Kevin Costner has a paint, and sometimes he has a white tail, and sometimes he has a brown tail. And now you'll all be looking at the horse's tail every time he runs away. But
okay. And then if you can find it, go watch The Eagle Huntress.
Yeah,
because this was Daisy Ridley's baby.
Not literally.
Right. And then also the Son of Dathomir comics. Check those out.
Oh, wow. I really told the people to watch this, and then we can all watch Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, yes.
Well, always.
I
mean, there's always room for that.
Sam Neill. Mm-hmm. All right, so that's our homework.
Alrighty, guys. So in between shows, you can visit us over at fangirlsgoingrogue.com. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram. We are at FG Going Rogue. I am at Ice Cold Penguin. Tricia is at Fangirl Cantina, and Sarah is at Jedi Tink.
You can email us at contact@fangirlsgoingrogue.com, and you can check us out on Instagram and Tumblr. There's a lot of Star Wars Rebels this week, and some Donald Glover on there, and some Han Solo. So go check it out.
Excellent. And on Instagram, we are at FG Going Rogue. And you can also leave us a voicemail, which conveniently is 331-21-EWOKS.
Woohoo! If you like this episode, leave a review on iTunes. If you leave a really good review, we will read you on the air on the next episode. So there's your challenge.
More homework.
Yeah. Nice. All right. Watch all those movies, read all those comics, and write a review. All right. And, I want to give a shout out to Kai Charles, who wrote us a review over the past month. So thank you, Kai. All right, everyone. So until next time. Da-da-da-da. Yup. Ready.
Okay.
No, don't do that again. Every single time.
I can't help it. It happens. I'm a cheerleader. Dancing girl. Go.
There we go. All right. Do you hear any mic noise? Are you guys Nothing.
Tinny.
I'm Tinny?
Tinny. Horrible. Tinny. I'm joking. I'm sorry.
Oh.
I had a girlfriend who used to always say, "Do I have food in my teeth?" And I used to tell her, "Yes."
Oh.
And she never did.
Oh my gosh.
I said to her, I said, "If you had food in your teeth, honey, I would tell you."
I don't even know how to get a hold of that movie.
I can send it to you.
Ooh.
That's called pirating.
But
Yes,
no,
please.
I have it. Not if I send you the Blu-ray.
Oh.
Okay.
Girl,
Not digitally.
Do any of that stuff. Yeah. I still laugh when I get the what is it? The notifications from what's the thing where people used to download all the music from back in the day?
Napster.
Napster on my phone. It's like, get Napster. I'm like, oh, Napster was like something you did in college that
Yes,
would
it
get
was.
you arrested.
All right, watch all those movies, read all those comics, and write a review. And so Skywalkers, I mean...
Oh my goodness gracious, what now?
Wow.
It's okay. I'm sure a lot of the people are Skywalkers.
I
They
know.
probably are.
Whoops. Okay, let me try
We
that
don't really
again.
have a name. We don't really have a name for our listeners.
And so fangirl flailers? That sounds stupid. I know.
Stupid.
Okay, let's try this.
It's our 3-year anniversary.
Wait, what?
Our 3-year anniversary.
It is our 3-year
When?
anniversary.
In November?
It's November. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, now, yeah. This episode. I just thought
This
thought
episode.
about it. Yep.
Wow.
We're like old ladies. Yeah.
Old ladies.
Here,
Oh.
we'll record a short little thing. Ready?
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Teresa, go have a margarita and celebrate.